His friends were yelling at us. They were very intoxicated.
A case so dramatic.
He struck me to the face. I fell back. I hit the concrete. I lost about 1.5 pints of blood. I received a massive concussion.
So intense.
Ben started beating the car.
And driven by hate.
Would give me one of those.
And it could lead to a verdict Judge Judy doesn't want to hand down. Judge Judy.
All right, Mr. Ahrens, it is your claim that Mr. Payton assaulted you.
Correct.
There is sort of a companion case here that I will address either during this case or at some point immediately after, involving a Mr. Spear. Is that you?
That's correct.
And you weren't actually there during the course of this whole event, but you allege your car got damaged by Mr. Ahrens while he was drunk. When did this assault take place, sir?
The assault itself occurred at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was with my friends.
I need a date, sir.
December 18th.
12/18/04.
Correct.
Where were you?
I was in the parking lot of the Hilton Hotel, located in Corvallis, Oregon.
What were you doing there?
My friend had a party right next door. It was his birthday party.
And what time had you arrived at the party?
10 o'clock.
How many people were there?
Roughly 8.
A lot of drinking.
Yes, we were all over 21.
I didn't ask how old you were. I said there was a lot of
Yes,
drinking.
there was a lot of drinking.
What were you drinking then?
I was drinking Miller Lite.
Nothing other than beer.
Correct.
And what happens?
We were outside, out front. There's a fence separating his house and the parking lot. And we were out front there. I was with my friends, Jason. Well, they're actually acquaintances. About 3 girls came out of the Hilton Hotel. At that point, we called over to them to come over and talk to us. So they came over to where we were.
What did you say to them?
I don't exactly remember exactly what we said, but we said, hi, what's going on tonight? What are you guys doing at the Hilton? At that point, approximately 3 to 4 men came out of the hotel and immediately came over to where we were. Mr. Payton targeted me specifically, and he started going after me. I could tell he wanted to fight. He was very aggressive towards me.
Well, tell me what he did, sir.
He said as soon as he came out of the hotel, he said that he saw me looking at him and saluting in a Hitler-like way. I don't know what he was talking about.
Do you know what he's talking about, Mr. Payton?
I know exactly what he's talking about.
What is he talking about, Mr. Payton?
When I walked out of the hotel, we walked over to the young ladies, and they seemed upset, so I walked over and asked him to stop, and he was on the other side of the fence, and he gave me one of those.
Can I interject at this point?
What were you doing at the Hilton Hotel that evening?
The dorms were closed at our university, and I was staying there for a school function.
Okay. And what time had you started drinking that night?
I'm 18 now. I didn't drink.
Okay, Ben. So you're outside.
And I'm speaking with my friends. It becomes a verbal altercation at that point. So I came over the fence.
So you jumped over the fence?
Correct, yes.
Why didn't you just go home like you were planning to go?
I wasn't planning on going home that night.
Well, what were you doing outside, Ben?
We were just out front of his house so that we didn't wake up his friends.
I don't understand that, Ben. You were outside because you were making too much noise to be inside?
That would be correct, yes. At that point, I explained to him what I was doing.
What did you mean you explained to him? What does that mean, I explained to him?
I told him, I repeated the motion of this. I told him that's the only thing I could have possibly done at that point when he came outside. I told him that. He said, okay, that's all right. And then we shook hands. We exchanged names. We asked them what they were doing, and they said they were going to go and get beer and food. So they got in their car, and they took off. They came back about 10 minutes later, maybe 15 minutes later, and we were still outside.
What were you doing outside, Ben?
We were just sitting on the curb. There's a curb. We were just sitting there. We were just talking amongst ourselves.
Go ahead.
The 3 girls that were with them, I believe they went straight into the hotel, or
they didn't want to talk to you anymore.
I don't know if they didn't want to talk to us anymore, or if they were just
They didn't want to talk to you anymore. They went right inside.
They went inside.
Go ahead.
Peyton and his friends, they stayed with us out there, and we talked. And at that point, there became a verbal altercation between Mr. Peyton and one of the witnesses, Brown. And I believe it was over food. I believe he asked them if they brought him any food back.
Where is Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown is unable to come.
So he's not a witness?
Okay.
Because he's not here.
Okay.
So Mr. Brown, one of your friends, asked Mr. Peyton...
Well, he wasn't my friend, he was my acquaintance.
Your acquaintance?
Correct.
On your curb?
Yes.
Asked Mr. Peyton how come they didn't bring him back any food?
Yes.
You think that was because Mr. Brown maybe had a little too much to drink?
Possibly, yes.
Keep going.
So at that point, there was a verbal altercation between him and Mr. Payton, and I believe Jason might have gotten involved in it a little bit. At that point, I got up and I got in between them, and I pushed them aside, and then I'm not sure exactly what he did. That's about where my memory ends. Shortly after that point, it was because he had struck me to the face. I received a massive concussion. I have photos here if you'd like at this time. You can take a look at that. I fell back. I hit the concrete. I lost about 1.5 pints of blood. You can see my cheek there. It was possibly dislocated.
Looked like you fell back really hard.
Yes. At that point, I had a concussion. I do not remember anything from that point
Good.
on.
Now, Brian,
Yes.
let's hear it.
Like you said, the young ladies did come out the...
Why don't we start with the young lady?
Oh, okay then.
Because you weren't there. The young lady was there first. Is
Can I
that right?
interject at this point?
No.
Okay.
You came out at some point of the Hilton Hotel.
Yes. Ben and his friends were yelling at us and
What were they yelling?
to come over and like what were our names, and we could tell that they were very intoxicated. And then the boys came out and were like, these guys won't leave us alone. They keep yelling at us and they're very intoxicated. And so I believe that Brian asked them to leave us alone.
Did you go out with Brian and his friends for some food?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be a yes.
Yes.
What happened when you came back?
We got out of the car and they started yelling and stuff like that, and then Ben started beating the car. And the car alarm...
Whose car was it?
Your car.
He started beating with what? With his fists?
Mm-hmm. And the car alarm was going off. All of us actually asked him numerous times to stop it, and he wouldn't. Brian went up to him to get him to stop, and Ben turned around really fast, and his fist came up, and so Brian obviously felt threatened if he was beating the car this much, and so Brian hit him, and he fell back on the ground and hit his head.
Okay. The police were called?
Yes.
You have the police report?
I have the police report. And
I'd like
is
to
there
see it,
something I
please.
could say? The police
also
interviewed
have-
all the witnesses.
I'd like to see both police reports, and Ben, I can read. You don't have to tell me what it says.
Can I just point one out thing, though, please?
Yes?
They interviewed all the witnesses there, and they took down their names. Her name's nowhere in the police report. I'd like
Well,
that.
it may not be in the police report, but did they take down the names of the 3 girls who were...
No, they did not.
Well, so?
I don't recognize her at all. I'm not sure who she is. They interviewed everyone who was there at the time
Listen
of the
to me.
incident.
You were so blind drunk, not a question in my mind, that you wouldn't know her if she came up and bit you in the behind. You said there were 3 girls that came out. It's my job to ascertain who tells the truth and who lies. She told a very cogent story. There is no reason to say that she's lying about being one of the 3 girls that came out that night that spoke to you.
Why didn't the police interview her then?
I have no idea, sir. I have enough trouble figuring out why I'm here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We were drinking, him included. He started picking a fight. I can quote him on, I can kick 2 of your guys' right now. And,
Hands off your hips.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ben Aaron says, during a night of partying, he was assaulted by college football player Brian Payton. Brian says Ben was drunk and out of control. In a separate lawsuit, Adam Spear is suing Ben Aarons for denting his car.
How did you get the injuries to your hands, sir? How did you get the injuries?
I didn't have any injuries on my hands.
I noted that Mr. Aarons had injuries to both of his hands. He had abrasions and red marks on his fingers that were consistent with him striking something.
This is the photograph of the injury to my hands. This is the dent that my hands allegedly
That's
created.
one hand. I'll take a look at it. Absolutely.
If you look in the report, it says injuries to both hands.
Right.
If there is injury to both hands, you would see it. The only thing that photo shows is a red strap mark from where I was strapped into the stretcher. You can see that.
No. Police officer noted, sir, that there were massive dents on a car. That would be Mr. Spear's car. And the police officer said to you, did you strike that car? And you said, I don't remember. That was the answer that you gave to the police.
Correct.
Police also said that in addition to beer, you drank liquor.
Yes.
That's what you told the police.
Okay, yes.
You didn't remember to tell me that.
I'm sorry.
Police officer also noted that you and your friends were all drunk, right?
Correct.
Okay, good.
Could I interject with one more thing, please? I have a medical report from when I was there. They did a full body analysis on me. There's nothing in there about any injury to my hands. The only thing I could have imagined that he would have seen is I have a medical injury.
Let me explain something to you, sir. You hit his car. You were drunk, and you fisted his car. You may not remember it, but that's what you did. That's what happens when you drink too much. Ben?
Allegedly, yes.
That's what happens when you drink too much, sir. You act goofy and stupid. You try to pick up girls that don't want to have anything to do with you. You hang around where you shouldn't be hanging around outside. And you act goofy and stupid. And you get yourself into trouble when you drink too much. Isn't that right?
Not entirely, no.
Well, you were acting goofy and stupid, too, according to the police report. All of his friends were drunk.
Oh, does it specify my name in there?
Were you at the party?
Yes, I was.
And you weren't drunk.
They didn't take individual statements.
I didn't ask you that question, sir. I said...
I was drinking, but I was not drunk, Your Honor. I'm here for a reason. I'm not his friend. I met him that night.
Good.
I'm here because I can remember things. Everybody else there was too wasted.
Why? She wasn't wasted.
Huh? I'm talking at the party that we were there.
This young lady isn't wasted, sir.
And you know what? She also wasn't there at the moment of the assault.
Step up. Step up. Go ahead.
Kind of twisted that around a little bit. I'm not denying that he hit any car.
Good. So let's start there.
Let's start
there. He hit the car.
I did not see him hit the car, no.
Okay. So you weren't there the entire time?
No, I was outside most of the time. I was inside for maybe 3 minutes the whole time.
He was there when I actually got hit. And
I was there and witnessed the assault.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it? Okay.
Take your hands off your hips.
We were standing there having drinks. His friends and him among us had beer. They brought a case of beer. We were drinking, him included. He, Mr. Payton, was pretty hot-headed the whole time. The moment he came up, he started picking a fight with me and Brown, who's not here today. I can quote him on, you guys are pretty stupid. I don't want to hang out with you guys. I don't want to sit here and drink with you. I'm going back to my hotel. I can kick 2 of your guys right now. That set me, who's pretty hot-headed, if you can't tell, and Brown off. We kind of got up in his face, and he did the same. Some words were said. That's when Ben said he came up and tried to break up the thing. He went back to the hotel for a while with the girls. We still hung out with his 2 other friends. He came back out. And
hands off your hips.
All right. He came back out. Some more words were said. Ben, at the time, was sitting on the curb drinking a beer. He stood up. Ben wasn't even looking at him. We were all talking. He walked over to Ben and cheap-shotted Ben in the jaw.
So after they left, instead of going back to the house, you stayed in the parking lot. You remember why?
It's a place to sit. We were there already. I can just stay where I want, I believe. It's not against the law.
I love it when it all comes together. Just let him talk. Right?
That's what you do best.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Payton.
Yes.
Here's your problem, sir. Your problem is the statement that you made to the police. And the sum and substance of that statement was that he was loud and obnoxious and drunk.
Yes.
And he kept hitting on Mr. Spears' car.
Correct.
And you told him to stop. And he walked away, and he came back, and he hit the car again. And then you hit him.
That's basically, yes, what happened. I didn't intentionally walk to him to hit him. Like, I came back around the vehicle because I walked through the back of the vehicle towards the Hilton.
Whatever. Let me tell you what you said to the police.
Okay.
Mr. Payton, you said to the police, I told him to knock it off. Mr. Payton said that he started to walk away twice, and each time Mr. Aarons began striking the vehicle again. Mr. Payton said that he told Mr. Aarons one last time to quit striking the vehicle, and when he failed to stop, he hit him.
Yeah.
I asked Mr. Payton how many times he hit Mr. Aarons, and he said twice. And that you struck him both times in the face.
Yes.
And you said you were shocked that he fell down because you didn't think you'd hit him that hard. Well, but he was drunk.
Yeah.
Now you can stand up. I'm going to hear this other case. You want to get that folder now because I don't have to hear it twice. I've just heard the facts of the case. This is Spear against Aarons.
Case number 49.
Very good. You have an estimate for the damage to your car?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
Would you like the court fees that's been costing me?
No, just the damage to the car.
Yes,
Who's Mr. Norris? Is he a friend of yours?
Yes.
Okay. Let me tell you what Mr. Norris told the police. It says in the police report, this is the interview. Mr. Norris stated that after Mr. Payton told Mr. Ahrens 3 different times to stop hitting the car, he walked up and struck him in the face.
Yeah, I'm not denying that I hit him.
You can't do that. Brian, you can't do that. Now, do you have any unreimbursed medical bills, sir?
Yes, sir. Oh, ma'am.
Hand them up. Ms. Hoffman, is this your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Is she still seeing Mr. Coons?
Yes, Your Honor.
So I assume she's not happy being here today.
You're correct.
It is your claim, Ms. Hoffman, that Mr. Coon forged some checks of yours.
Correct.
And also took money out of your daughter's account.
Correct.
In addition to that, he had an accident while driving your car. Mr. Coon says, well, he acknowledges that he did forge some checks of yours, but he says that he paid you back that money in restitution by working for you. And he didn't steal as much as you claim he stole, and aside from that, he says your daughter knew all about it. And as far as taking money out of her account, she was aware of that. And as far as the car incident was concerned, your daughter knew he didn't have a valid driver's license. He had a suspended driver's license, so she gave him permission to drive the car, and therefore he's not responsible. Correct?
Correct.
Tell me about the car incident, sir.
I went down to the store. I was driving through the parking lot, and a lady backed out, and she actually bumped into me, and I got out and made sure everything was okay. She said it doesn't look like any damage is done here, and I was all, here's my number. We exchanged numbers, and I said if there's any further problems, call me. And that was it.
Why should she call you if she backed into you?
I just told her to call me because if it was, we wanted to exchange insurance information later on.
I don't understand why she should call you. She backed into you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. I told her, I was like, you know, you backed out. I honked the horn. Basically, everything's all right. There was no damage done.
Was there any damage done to the car?
Yes, there was damage. I have proof that there was damage. And the thing was, he didn't even call and tell me that he backed in. He just, what happened was...
Can I see the pictures, please?
Yes. The other company called me, and that's how I found out.
The other company called you because she was filing a claim?
She filed a claim, yes.
She filed a claim? How could she file a claim? She, according to him, backed into him.
She said that he backed into her. So I
Where was the damage to your car?
Underneath the bumper.
Mr. Coons, when did you notify Ms. Hoffman that there had been this little accident?
I didn't notify her.
Okay. Now let's get back to your defense to this action. Your defense to this action is that you had a suspended driver's license, but your girlfriend knew about it when she gave you the car to go to the store.
Yeah. I was just going to run to the store, get some things at the store, and come right back. Your house is like half a mile from the store.
Why was your driver's license suspended?
For traffic tickets that I failed to appear on.
What kind of tickets?
Like 2 speeding tickets.
And?
And a red light violation.
So you're not a good driver?
I'm a good driver.
No, you're not. They don't take away the license of good drivers.
Yeah.
How many accidents?
Shh. Driving a car on a suspended license is...
Illegal.
That's not something that Christina can wave a wand and do away with. That's only something that you have control over, Mr. Coons.
I didn't think it was a big deal, though, just to run down to the store.
It is a big deal, you idiot. When they say you can't drive, they don't say you can't drive except to go down to the store.
True.
Now, just for my own curiosity, sir, what is it that you had to get that was so important at the store? Insulin?
No.
What?
Just some stuff for dinner.
Your Honor?
Just don't say. Does it look like you're losing? Does it look like you're losing so far? What?
I was going to...
Can I tell you something? Christina.
Yes.
He's still your boyfriend?
Yes.
He's an idiot. Maybe you're an idiot. I don't know if you're an idiot or not, but he's an idiot. And if you're going to hitch your wagon to his star, you're going to have a miserable life.
No, Your Honor.
What? Listen to me, Christina. Your mother's been around for a while,
Yes.
right? You've been married,
Yes, ma'am.
divorced?
Yes.
How many times?
Once.
Once. Been there, done that, couple of times. Been in the family court, years. I got a nose. you hitch your wagon to this star, you're going to have a miserable life. Just think about it. 10 years from now, you're going to say, you know, I appeared before Judge Judy in this silly little case that was on television, and she, put your hand down, and she told me if I hitched my wagon to his star, I was going to have a miserable life. She was right. Just listen to me. I don't know about you. You may be a loser, too. Then maybe you belong together. Maybe two halves make a whole. I don't know. But if you certainly don't look it. How much is it going to cost to fix the bumper?
$971.
Good, $971. Now, Mr. Coons, explain to me why you took checks from Miss Hoffman and forged her name and cashed them.
I started hanging out with the wrong crowd, doing some stupid stuff, and I needed a bunch of cash.
Hanging around with a bad crowd doesn't mean you need cash. If you're hanging around with a bad crowd and you buy drugs and owe somebody for money for the drugs, and you need cash for that, otherwise somebody's going to break your knees, that's a reason. So you want to explain to me what you needed this money for?
Basically, I got into drugs, and I needed cash to support it. And then after that...
Were you supporting Christina's drug habit too?
No, I'd never get into that.
Did Christina know you were doing drugs?
Nope.
So she's not very intuitive, right?
Nope.
You managed to conceal that from her,
Yep.
right? How did I know that, Mr. Coons? It's not anywhere in these papers, sir. Did you think that maybe I have a crystal ball?
Yep.
Experience. That's what I'm trying to tell Christina. How much money did he steal from you?
$1,320 out of my account.
I don't care what he took out of Christina's account. If Miss Stupid wants to stay with him, she'll deal with that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What kind of drugs?
Oxycontin?
Why in the world would an attractive girl like you want to hook up with him?
Because I love him.
And later today...
How much child support do you pay for your other child?
None.
Why not?
I do for my other son, as well as I do for Michael while he's staying with his father here.
Don't talk to me with attitude. There's only one attitude here, and that's mine.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donna Hoffman says her daughter's boyfriend, Daniel Coons, stole money from her and her daughter's bank accounts. Donna says Daniel took the money to support his OxyContin habit.
When did you find out that he took money out of your account?
Maybe a couple weeks or a month later.
Come. Stand up next to your mother, Christina. Here we go. How much did he take out of your account?
I think it was $650.
And you didn't find out that he took the money out of your account until after he took it out?
No, it bounced in my account.
So you didn't know he had done it?
No.
When you confronted him about it, what did he say, Christina?
He told me about it.
Well, what did he tell you?
And he bounced checks in my account.
No, what did he say? Come on. You just say to him, where'd you get the money from? Where did you get the checks from? What did you use the money for? Those were the intelligent questions, Christina. And what did he tell you?
He told me what he used it for and why he needed
what?
it. Drugs.
What kind of drugs?
Oxycontin.
And after you found out that the checks bounced, did he take any other money out of your account?
No, Your Honor.
Is that right, sir?
Yep.
I just changed my mind. Because, Mr. Coons, in your answer you say that Christina here knew all about it, that she was aware of it. She says she wasn't. You know that?
She put the checks in her account, so that would... she knew about the checks going in her account, but not them bouncing.
Not that there were no funds.
Yeah, exactly.
But you knew.
Yep, I knew.
But you didn't tell her.
Yep.
Well, then you misled me, sir. You misled me in your answer. Your answer suggested that she was a co-conspirator. All right. So let's understand, Christina, who he is. He stole from your mother.
Mm-hmm.
He stole from you. He's a 19-year-old drug addict. He says you don't use drugs. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Why in the world would an attractive girl like you want to hook up with him?
Because I love him.
The uniformed groans out here, Christina. The uniformed groans out here, Christina.
Hmm. Your Honor, he's cleaned up also.
What are you doing now, Mr. Coons?
My uncle owns a trucking company. I'm trying to get my Class A license to drive for him.
That doesn't tell me what you're doing now.
Moving. He owns a moving company.
That doesn't tell me what you're doing now.
I'm cleaning my act up. Making money.
So you want to be a mover?
Yeah, a driver.
What are you doing, Christina?
I work at Express and I'm a cosmetologist.
Is that what you want to do?
Hair? Yes, I do.
You living home?
Yes, I do.
Remember to take those pills every morning. Every morning. Maybe you'll wake up in time. Mr. Coons, did you go into a residential drug treatment program?
Yep.
For how long?
10 days.
That's a crash course, sir. That's a crash course. Did the program recommend that you go into residential treatment for a period of 18 months or whatever and stick with it?
Yeah, that's what they recommended, but...
And you decided that you didn't need that. Is that right?
That's right.
And you decided that you didn't need that despite the fact that you had stolen from Miss Hoffman, you stole from your girlfriend, you have half a dozen unresolved driving infractions, you had an accident with her car. All of those things don't suggest to you that maybe the professionals that told you a 10-day crash course doesn't make it. When you are so addicted to drugs, maybe instead of fooling around, you should go into a residential drug treatment program. But you knew better than the professionals, is that right?
Yeah.
Good girl, Christina. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,941. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The bank called me and said this doesn't look like your signature, so I, of course, called him up and said, hey, what's going on?
She couldn't believe it. And then I was like, you know, I had to admit it right there.
I was saying, you know what, I think something's wrong. I think he's on drugs, and we started drug testing him, and he actually admitted to it.
I want to get married and have kids and do everything, you know, stay clean, do the right thing.
Yes, I see us being together for a very long time.
I would really hope that he would clean up, but I've told her that, you know what, once they start being like this, they're never going to change.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McLean versus Clark. Step forward, please.
Meat cutter Michael McLean is suing the mother of his son, nurse Lachelle Clark, for the return of child support. Michael says money was taken from his paycheck while their son was living with him.
Mr. McLean, you and the defendant have a son together.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
And it is your claim that your son was living with you for a period of time at his mother's request.
Yes, ma'am.
And during that time, they were taking child support out of your check.
Yes.
And Miss Clark knew that the child was living with you, and she was the only one that could stop this child support
Yes, ma'am.
payment. She did not, and you want her to pay you back the money that you sent, or that was taken out of your check, for your son while he was living with you.
Yes. I wanted her to stop it immediately.
And Miss Clark says, well, it was only temporary, and she was providing some things for him also.
Yes.
Right? Okay. How old is this child?
He's 11.
And why did he go and live with his father, Miss Clark?
He went to live with his father because at the present time, my landlord went up on my rent $300 because I had lost.
You were having a problem with housing.
Excuse me?
You were having a problem with housing?
Yes.
All right, that's the bottom line.
Michael McLean says the mother of his son, Lachelle Clark, accepted child support payments after their son started living with him.
So when did you call Mr. McLean and ask if he could take your son?
Around the 1st of January when I first started having my housing problem.
And when did he actually go to live with his father?
The 28th of January.
Is he still there?
Yes.
And how much is the child support order, Mr. McLean?
I want to say $272
a month.
What do you do for a living, Mr. McLean?
I'm a meat cutter, meat manager.
How many children do you have?
I got 3.
Do any of them live with you? You have to think about that? None of them live with you?
No.
Do you pay child support for any other children?
Yes, I do.
And what do you do for a living, Miss Clark?
I'm a nurse.
How many children do you have?
2.
Well, I know one is living with Mr. McLean. Where is the other child?
The other one is with his father also.
How much child support do you pay for your other child?
None.
Why not?
What do you mean? Because me and him have an understanding. This thing right here, I can't have
Just listen to me. Listen to me very carefully, Miss Clark.
I do for my other son, as well as I do for Michael while he's staying with his father here.
Well, listen to me. Don't talk to me with attitude. There's only one attitude here, and that's mine.
Oh, well.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. There's only one attitude here. And Officer Byrd will tell you that that attitude is mine. So let me give you a primer course in parenting. When two people have a child, it is the responsibility of both parents to support them. So that if while your son is living with his father and you buy him things, clothes,
and anything else he needs.
Just a second. Clothes, doctor's visits, extra school activities, sneakers, right? That's what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
You're also supposed to be responsible for your child's portion of his rent, gas, electric, food, telephone. That's what his father is taking care of. He's not supposed to be sending you money so that you can spend his money on clothes for your child. That's money that you're supposed to be paying out of the money you make from being a nurse. So when your son went to live with his father, the child support should have terminated. The truth of the matter is, while your son is living with his father, you should be paying his father child support. And if you're not paying child support to the father of your other child, when your other child's living there, you're doing the wrong thing too. So let's figure this out. There are 4.3 weeks in a month times 4. Oh, got to turn it on first. 4.3 times 4. No, that's wrong.
Can I have it?
Yeah, you figure it out.
His child support was stopped in April.
What?
His support was stopped in April. We went to court about this matter.
It was stopped in April.
8, 408.
April 8th, so we just need 2 months. So it's 272 times 2. $544.
That's right.
Where do you get $1,136 from?
I must have underestimated the cost of it, but I also wanted to where I had to go file for court.
I'm sure she had to go. I'm sure she had to go.
No, you don't.
Don't speak to each other. You want to speak to each other? You do that outside. Here, you only speak to me. Okay. So let's say you had him for an additional 3 weeks. It's approximately $150. That would be $694 that you paid for support while he was living with you.
Yes.
Is she paying child support now? Did she pay you any child support in April or May?
No, she haven't.
Got away with murder. What you should have done is when you went in to have the child support stopped, you should have sued her for child support. Put your hand down. As long as the child is living with you, you have the right to sue for child support against the non-custodial parent. Tap your fingers. You may not like the message, but don't kill the messenger. That's the law. Just like when your child is living with you, you sue the non-custodial parent. Just because he's the father doesn't mean you get a free ride. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $694. That's all.
Excuse, you may step out.
Pay $272 a month doesn't even put food on my table for 2 weeks. Okay, his son can eat a whole chicken.
Right now, I know she's kind of angry. She gonna probably want him back.
When he gets ready to go back for child support again, he gonna have to pay arrears. So I mean, I ain't worried about it. I ain't gonna sweat it.
I don't know where she come with that. I got 3 boys. I take care of all 3 of them.
I had to pray and beg for him to keep the son in. Okay? And the only reason he did it then was because he didn't want to pay child support.
Just pay.
Child care provider Summer Oliver claims former employer Jamie DiMarino owes for unpaid wages. Jamie is accusing Summer of being a neglectful babysitter.
Miss Oliver, it is your claim that the defendant owes you some money for babysitting services, and the defendant says you've been paid. She's counterclaiming because she says because you were such an inefficient sitter, she lost money. When did you start babysitting for her child or children?
2 children. We had an interview on the 5th of January, and then she started the 8th of January.
And how did you find her?
My father had given me her number because she was running a local ad in one of the papers for daycare. So
how old are your children?
I have a son that will be 3 in a couple months, and my daughter just turned 6.
All right, January 8th is when she started, and what was the financial arrangement?
Anywhere from $150 to $170 a week.
Now, the first week that you babysat, did she pay you?
Yes.
And the second week?
Yes.
So we're talking about 1 full week of $150 that you claim she didn't pay you for.
The last week of her 2 weeks' notice.
What do you mean the last week of her 2 weeks' notice?
She gave 2 weeks' notice. She paid the first week, and she didn't pay the last week.
What days did she bring the children to you during that second week?
The last week, Monday, she brought both her children. Tuesday, she called me, and she said that she had been out drinking the night before, and she was hungover, so she would not be bringing her children Tuesday.
That's Tuesday.
Yes.
No, that's not true.
Wednesday, she brought both her children. Her little son had a terrible diaper rash, and he had diarrhea at my house that day. I called her to come pick her son up because he was ill. I actually had to take him upstairs and bathe him because he had defecated all over himself and all down my carpet.
Okay, go ahead.
The next day, Thursday, she brought him. He had defecated in his pants.
So he was soiled again?
Yes, he was.
What about her daughter?
Her daughter had diarrhea that morning, but she went to school.
Well, she's 6.
Yes.
Just a second. But she was there at your facility, at your home?
Yes.
The daughter, until she went to school?
Correct.
Okay. And Friday?
Thursday, when she came to pick up her son, I called her and said, he cannot stay here. He is ill. I have got to put my other children in high chairs and fasten them in, and I have to take care of him. And it's dangerous. It's not respectful to my other kids or for me. I said, you need to pick him up. And she became very angry, saying he was not ill,
Okay.
and she tried to pass it off.
Okay. Ms. DiMarino, why did you give your 2 weeks' notice?
It's because I noticed that the level of care wasn't necessarily where it needed to be. The week right before I gave my 2 week notice, my son had his hand slammed in the door. He was unable to use his hand for a couple of weeks. His fingernails in turn fell off. I was never notified. I was never called. The first time I found out about this was when I arrived at her house. Now, my children seem to like her. However, she did not work well for me. Sometimes my job demands that I stay later. I can unfortunately never count on her to do so. I realized I'd made a bad mistake, and my previous child care provider had been in Egypt on vacation for over a month, so I decided to go back. I gave her my 2 week notice.
When you gave her your 2 week notice, the first week your children went to her home?
Yes, ma'am.
Every day?
No, ma'am. She went to a funeral that week. That was complete oversight on my part, and I paid her for the full week.
Did you go to a funeral that week?
Yes, ma'am.
What day did you go to a funeral?
Tuesday.
Were you available to babysit?
I was not.
Were you paid?
I was. And everybody else paid the full
I
amount.
don't care what everybody else did. Everybody else is not suing.
Well, I gave her credit of $120. The 3 days, I've added a $10 late fee as per our agreement that we had.
Just a second. It's not a late fee. There is a dispute as to whether or not you're entitled to be paid. So forget late fee.
Ma'am, she signed an agreement with me that she would pay a late fee.
Listen to me very carefully, which is why you are here. Do you understand? I want you to forget late fee. That's not happening.
She signed a contract that said that she would pay.
Listen to me.
Regardless if her children were ill.
I want you to pay careful attention to me. Anywhere in your contract does it say if you are unavailable to babysit, you get paid anyway?
No, ma'am.
So that some things are not covered by a contract. Is that right?
Right, but others
When
are.
there is a dispute as to whether or not you are entitled to payment, that falls outside the contract, just as the fact that you had a funeral to attend and you couldn't get anybody else to cover for you because your job is very personal in nature.
Correct.
So when you can't babysit for people whose jobs depend upon you doing your job, very often they lose their wages from their job. Correct? Do you understand?
Yes.
That's why sometimes contracts don't cover every eventuality. You are not entitled to be paid for the day you took off.
I'm not asking for that.
But you were paid.
That's why I gave her credit the next week.
But you were paid. Well, if you gave her credit the next week, let us assume that you're entitled to $150 for the week. That would mean that you are really only entitled to $120.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're suing her for $150. So now we're down to $120. Now, you explain to me why you don't feel as if your children went there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yes, ma'am. They were not there Tuesday because I had some prior arrangements.
That has nothing to do with her.
Absolutely.
That has no use. You have to pay her for that.
I had every intention upon paying her. Had my son came back being said that he was sick, which is what I told Miss Oliver on Thursday when she called me and said, you are aware you do owe me $120. And if you do not pay me by Friday at midnight, I will start adding $10 late fee. I said, that's fine. You're entitled to do whatever you need to do. However, my son will be at the doctor's at 4:30 today. If he is given a clean bill of health, I will not pay you a dime. If it is said that he was sick, I will pay you. My son was taken to the doctor. He wasn't sick. There was nothing wrong with him. She's the only person.
Show me the doctor's letter.
Yes, ma'am. My doctor is semi-retired, so all I could get was their notes. He won't be back until Thursday. State of Virginia will not release the records to you.
Well, then that's not particularly helpful.
I know it's not. It's the best I could do because Dr. only comes in a couple times a month. However, I have a statement from my sitter.
I don't need a statement. I don't read statements
She's
from
giving
you. I
birth
don't
in 2
read
weeks.
statements from your sitter.
She can't.
I don't read statements from your sitter.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You know, sometimes when a child has an upset stomach, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're sick.
Yes, ma'am.
But sometimes it does. And sometimes, if the daycare provider believes that the other children in her care are at risk,
yes, ma'am,
then the prudent thing for her to do is to say, listen, I don't want to risk the other children's health here. So, but there is no question that you owe her $120.
Even for the fact that I paid a...
ਵੇਖੀ ਤੂੰ ਇਹ ਬੜੀ ਮਹਿੰਗੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ 30 ਰੁਪਏ ਦੀ ਪੁੜੀ 30 ਰੁਪਏ ਦੀ ਨੰਬਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਿਆ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਨੰਬਰ ਉਹ ਆ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਆ ਗਈ ਵਾਹ ਜੀ ਵਾਹ ਤੇਰਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਯਾਰ ਓੜ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜੱਟ ਸਾਡਾ ਕੋਲ ਖਾ ਨਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਟਰਾਲੀ ਤੇਰੀ ਗਈ ਆ ਮੈਂ ਯਾਰ ਗਰਾਈ ਕਾਂਜਲੇ 20 ਲਈ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਥੋੜੀਆਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਲਈ ਮਿਲ ਗਈ ਹੈਲੋ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਬੈਠਾ ਰਵਾਂ मैं घराई च बड़ा ना बरंदी पई है हाँ नहीं नहीं कौन मैं दम्मी नहीं वो कुत्तों लड़ी हुई है मैं पैसे दे काम करवाना था आ गया अल्लाह कीता मेरी भी नजरी पै गया हाँ इनको रोटी पानी भी देना हेलो रोटी पानी भी उसने देना वो तो 5000 रुपये भी लेना तो रोटी भी लेनी सौदा ध्यान रोटी का पानी दो ड्राइवर मानना